Hey, what is up, everybody? And welcome back to Combat Sports Weekly, the show where we break down everything happening inside the cage, the ring, and beyond. I'm your host, Alex Rivera, and today, oh man, do we have a packed episode for you. Sean Strickland is a champion again. Daniel Dubois just had one of the best heavyweight performances of the decade. And the UFC is heading to the White House. Let's get into it. All right, let's start with the biggest story in MMA right now, UFC 328. This was supposed to be Khamzat Chimaev's coronation. The undefeated Russian-born Chechen phenom was finally getting his shot at the middleweight title, and he was meeting Sean Strickland, a man he had publicly disrespected for years. The trash talk was absolutely unhinged in the lead-up. Chimaev kicked Strickland on the scale. The tension was at an all-time high. And then, the fight happened. 5 rounds. 5 grueling back-and-forth rounds. And when the dust settled, Sean Strickland walked out with the belt by split decision. Twice now, Strickland has done the unthinkable. First, he shocked Israel Adesanya, and now he's beaten the so-called unbeatable Chimaev to become a 2-time middleweight champion. The MMA world is buzzing. Joe Rogan pointed to Chimaev's new conditioning coach as a possible factor in the loss. Demetrius Johnson echoed that sentiment. And Khamzat himself, in the post-fight chaos, told Dana White he wanted an immediate rematch, only to reverse that position just hours later. We've also got Paulo Costa already calling for Chimaev next, saying, he is done. Bold words from Costa, who will get his own shot to prove it at UFC Vegas 117 against Derek Allen. As for Strickland, Dana White says he's not buying the new humble Sean Strickland persona. Strickland shocked everyone after the fight by actually apologizing for his pre-fight behavior. White essentially laughed it off. Strickland's first potential title defense? His team is reportedly targeting Nassourdine Imavov. Meanwhile, in the co-main event, flyweight champ Joshua Van defended his title in brutal fashion, stopping Tatsuro Taira by TKO in round 2. Van has a simple message for former champion Alexandra Pantoja. Go get some milk. The champ is making statements in and out of the octagon. Now let's cross over to the sweet science, because boxing had its own fireworks this past weekend. Daniel Dubois, the big punching British heavyweight, reclaimed the WBO heavyweight world title in what many are already calling a Fight of the Year candidate, stopping Fabio Wardley in round 11. This was a war. Wardley, a fellow Brit, pushed Dubois to the absolute limit. 11 rounds of heavy leather being thrown between 2 power punchers. The stoppage in round 11 was devastating, and the boxing world was on its feet. The matchup was so intense, ringside observers said it became hard to watch. That is how brutal this fight was. Now, in the aftermath, Tyson Fury wasted no time on social media, calling Anthony Joshua chinny after watching Dubois get the win. Classic Fury, always finding a way to make the story about himself. Looking ahead, Moses Italma, the young British heavyweight prospect, is being lined up as a future opponent for Dubois. That matchup could be massive for the division going forward. And elsewhere in the heavyweight picture, Oleksandr Usyk is scheduled to return on May 23rd against kickboxing legend Rico Verhoeven in Giza, Egypt. An unusual crossover matchup that has the combat sports world genuinely curious. Can the boxing pound-for-pound king handle a man who has ruled kickboxing for over a decade? We are about to find out. On the political side of boxing, and yes, there is a political side, the Muhammad Ali Act has passed the U.S. House of Representatives. This legislation could completely restructure how boxing contracts, promoter relationships, and fighter pay are handled in America. Big names like Eddie Hearn are already making noise about it. Dana White tore into Hearn this week, calling him a clout chaser. The back and forth between White and the boxing establishment is getting more heated by the day as the UFC boss pushes further into the boxing world. Popcorn ready, folks, because this rivalry between promoters is just getting started. Now, let's look ahead at what's coming up in the world of combat sports, because the calendar is loaded. First, UFC White House. That's right. The UFC is staging an event in Washington, D.C. this June, and it is already one of the most talked about cards of the year. Alex Pereira and Ilia Topuria will both be competing on the card. But here's the twist. They won't be wearing their custom shorts. The UFC has mandated that all fighters on the card wear America-themed kits with the stars and stripes. Topuria is also set to face Justin Gaethje for the lightweight title later this year, with Arman Tsarukyan confirmed as the backup. That fight has the potential to be an absolute war. Speaking of massive events, on Netflix, yes, Netflix, Ronda Rousey is making a return to combat sports, facing Gina Carano under the MVP MMA banner. The card also features Nate Diaz versus Jake Perry and Francis Ngannou taking on Henan Lins. Rousey hasn't competed in years, and analysts are already breaking down whether her legendary armbar submission game can win the day. This is going to be appointment viewing. Also on the radar, UFC is heading to Oklahoma in July for its first event there in 9 years. Keyshawn Davis takes on Nahir Albright in a welterweight rematch on DAZN. And young heavyweight sensation Moses Italma continues his rise toward a world title shot. Keep your eyes on that kid. He is special. That is going to do it for this episode of Combat Sports Weekly, folks. What a time to be a combat sports fan. Sean Strickland is a 2-time champion. Daniel Dubois proved he belongs at the very top of the heavyweight mountain. The UFC White House event is shaping up to be historic, and boxing's heavyweight division is as exciting as it has been in years. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and share it with a fellow fight fan. I'm Alex Rivera. Stay hungry, keep watching, and we'll see you next week. Peace.